Hello, and thank you for being here. Together with my colleagues Sergio and Tudor, we welcome you to this edition of Tech Insiders. My name is Cristian Roșa, and I'll be your virtual host today. I'm a technical manager at Globant, and as a location, I'm from Romania, Cluj-Napoca, Romania. Our development center is in the heart of Transylvania, so in the land of Dracula, but don't worry, we don't bite. Cluj-Napoca is a youth and very beautiful city, and so we invite you to visit it, and of course, coming to our office and say hi. Before we take a deep dive into Micro Frontends, let's get to know Globant better and how it paves the way forward for organizations to reinvent themselves.
Now that I've lost everything to you, you say you want to start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Baby, I'm grieving, but if you want to leave, then take good care. Hope you make a lot of nice friends out there. But just remember that a lot of bad everywhere. You know I've seen what the world can do, and it's breaking my heart in two. Cause I never want to see you sad, girl. Don't be a bad girl.
Reinvention moves the world forward, and that's what we do best.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world.
We are Globant, the company you probably don't know, behind many of the digital transformations you do know.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world.
Globant. Seek reinvention.
Across the world, companies have been challenged to remain in constant evolution, transform their culture and business models, rethink their customer experiences, and take advantage of new technologies such as artificial intelligence. Companies face the challenge to become augmented organizations. At Globant, we help pave the way towards this future. We work together with businesses around the world to define their way ahead and augment their capabilities to create new approaches for processes, products, and strategies. We create agile and resistant cultures where teams not only create change, but also adapt rapidly, creating exceptional experiences for millions of people. We walk along this road relying on our set of disruptors and accelerators, driven by artificial intelligence. All of this boosted by our system of studios and agile pods, operating units that foster creativity and innovation. We are a native digital company focused on helping organizations rethink themselves and find their way forward through digital and cognitive transformation. The future is now, and it belongs to augmented organizations.
Thank you all for watching. I hope now it's more clear how Globant helps organizations be better and reinvent themselves. Let's now move and check out today's agenda. We'll start by going into how we organize in Globant, what's in UI Engineering Studio, and what we do. Then we'll present our vision on building digital frontends and go through our practices. After that, we'll put our technology shoes on and step into Micro Frontends, where Sergio and Tudor will explain how, why, and other considerations related to this new pattern on building application UIs. We strongly believe that the future belongs to those organizations that want, try, and are able to augment themselves. Those are the special ingredients of a company being aware of what it needs to evolve, adapting, and expanding its business. We are able to do that by organizing in studios model that exists to create and innovate, provide deep pockets of expertise on technologies, and offering tailored solutions for specific clients and challenges. So let's now focus on the elephant in the room, UI Engineering Studio, what it's all about and why it has been born. Every great idea and solution starts from a vision, so our main focus is building digital front-end products, applying the latest trends in user experience to better serve users. Our goal is helping companies build close relations with their customers, finding opportunities in all available channels. So in our hands is the first contact with end users through different channels that include browsers, mobile, through native and hybrid applications, or AR, augmented reality, or virtual reality to enhance the user experience. Let's take also a look at studio details and how do we build those products. We do this by providing a set of UI practices and technologies, and we create engaging products through interactive interfaces, making use of tools, frameworks, components, and implementing state-of-the-art architecture and code bases with the right functionality in any platform. Based on our experience working with leading organizations from startups to Fortune 500 companies, we have different strategies to assess the maturity of an organization, to provide solutions for products and service delivery. We focus on digital transformation to drive growth, visitors, transactions, and overall experience. The UI engineering studio builds and innovates based on different practices that intersect with our deep pockets of expertise using different technologies. We have a large pool of front-end technology that we can leverage and use to make the full potential of today's available hardware and software, ranging from laptops to smartphones and web solutions to mobile ones. To build the best products, we carefully define our practices to be able to focus on creating the best experience and put the users at the center of what we build. Multi-channel experience has web and native solutions, cross-compiled or hybrid, mobile development. We are developing an in-house proficiency at Micro Frontends web solutions to offer distributed shipments and architect, design, implement, test, and deliver world-class native mobile applications on platforms like iOS, Android, and beyond. We strive to standardize our solutions with the use of components, libraries, and storybooks, and explore and use declarative UI frameworks like Flutter, Kotlin, Jetpack Compose, or Swift UI. In order to create the best possible front-end experience, we take the latest trends in new features available on each platform, like augmented reality, biometrics, Apple Pay, Google Pay, animation, geofensive. The immersive experience means building cutting-edge solutions, turning digital virtuality as close as it gets to reality. We also use machine learning and based decision making for user interactions and gestures, leading to high-fidelity interactive 3D rendering through extensive reality technologies, and focusing on providing the best user experience using spatial anchors and holograms. Front-end vitals means obtaining high-performant mobile or web applications, aiming for top-notch quality and efficiency. This is done by using the best possible architecture platforms available, like MVVM, Clean Architecture, or Viper for bigger projects with lots of developers. We build digital accelerators in the form of seed projects to bootstrap our projects faster. And we are using high yielding performance like memorization, caching, battery optimization, GPU or CPU rendering, and a lot of tools to analyze performance metrics that help in gaining actionable insights into application performance, like Lighthouse or SonarQube or Firebase. Accessibility-based design and development not only helps people with special needs, but all of us. The concept has not only an ethical approach, but also a commercial approach, and facilitates the access to information for all of the users. Our application follow the basic principle of accessibility and are perceivable, operable, robust, and understandable. Thank you all for watching, and now I'll pass the microphone to my colleagues Tudor and Sergiu to go ahead with the technical presentation.
Hello, everybody. Together with Tudor, we'll talk to you about the Micro Frontends today. In our presentation, we'll go through a couple of points. We'll start with why and some pain points that you can possibly get with your team. The how and some of those pain points can be solved. Where Tudor will go into depth about some technologies and solutions for that. We'll end with some key considerations and guidelines because, as we all know, there is no silver bullet and we need to think for the future. In a small demo where I'll show some example using module federation. So ready? Let's start. As we all know, every team and every project starts with good intentions, but at some point in the way, let's say bad things happen. You may add a new feature, you may collaborate with different teams, internal or external, you may transform your CI/CD in a mess. But let's don't forget that the teams are made of people. And what do people want? They want to be empowered and accountable. They want to have effective communication. They want to be flexible and use their own technology of choice. They want to be responsible on a relatively small code base and where they will know everything that happens. They want to take into consideration performance, scalability, and reusability of their code. But what do they get instead? Sometimes when you make a change in let's say a shared component, you may find out later in the day or later in the week that you've broken something in the application number 2. And sometimes maybe you finished your task, but it will take weeks or even months to get to the end user. In some cases, after a long time invested in code added, you might see code depth gaining power over your project, or you may see low performance and low scalability for your features. And of course, besides the usual processes, you'll face a lot of bottlenecks. Let's see how, or a suggestion on how can we fix those usual areas. The idea is to extend and give back power to the people, to the team. And by doing that, we extend the idea from microservices that we heard about in the backend world to the front end. And ergo, the term is Micro Frontends. This will allow every project to be able to split across product verticals and give responsibility on each team. So, for example, in this image here, we have different features that will get to different teams, and they are each team is responsible for code, for building, for testing, for deployment. And at the end of the day, the whole front end will be formed by all of these pieces set together. By doing this, we get many benefits. The most important one are flexibility, the independence, and they reduce overload. So imagine that you are free to use whatever technology you want. Maybe some teams are better to use Angular, for example, and the different team maybe knows React better and they move faster with this. Each feature and each team can act independent. So maybe you've broken some things in your area, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole application will blow up. So it will be scoped on it. And you don't even need to think about the large scale because you'll focus on, let's say, lower scope, focused on your specific area. And you can always share module, function, libraries across the whole team. There are two main verticals of how can we do micro frontends: build time and runtime. I will focus today only one example from each, respectively single bundle integration and JavaScript integration on the runtime. So the idea is on the build time, we need to do everything before we deploy. So we can extract every feature or every micro frontend in a package, and you deploy it as your usual NPM packages. But whenever you change something in one place, you need to recompile everything to be able to deploy so that the end user will see your changes. On the other hand, at runtime, you do not need to deploy everything if you change in only one place. So each micro frontend will get deployed independently. You can make your own changes there, and it will be available in all other applications that are using your specific file via module federation or other solution that my colleague Tudor will present. So now I'll pass the mic to Tudor and go more in depth into this.
Hey, I'm Tudor. I'm a front-end developer for Globant. And I will show you two technologies which we learned and played with. First one is module federation, and the second one is going to be a single SPA framework. So I've took this diagram from one of the learning technologies, and what's module federation? Module federation is a Webpack 5 feature. It comes as a plugin which you can use it and share between two projects, some parts of it. So how you do that? You have a project, let's say project A, which is developed in React, and you want to share something from it to another one, which can be Vue. For that, you have to extract, for example, if you have a product list, and you can share it with the other one. For that, you'll just have to create a configuration inside the Webpack where you say what you want exactly to expose, and the other part, the other project, which will be in view, for example, here, will consume it. And you specify again in the other project configuration what you exactly want to consume. For that, it will be generated to small GSs for both sites, and that will be shared in order for the two projects to consume it. Now, the part with is that you have two solutions. Each of them can expose things from one part to another one. Each one can be host or consumer in the opposite way, exactly the same thing. One of the things which you still have to do with Webpack, with this module federation, is if you want to share between two types of technology, meaning one is Angular, one is React, you'll have to create a shim functions, as I've displayed in this diagram taken from learning tutorial. So for Webpack, you still have to do this. Well, for module federation, you have to create a shim function in order to let the other one knowing that you want to use that technology. Can you go to the next one? Okay, yeah, so the part with the Webpack was that if you want to share it, you will have to create that shim function. Webpack has more things. Can you go back a little bit? Okay, so Webpack has things which permits to share codes, parts of it. These parts of it are tiny parts of the application, not the whole one. It permits you to mix the two ones, and in some way you export the feature from one part to another one, but not the whole page. And this is just it. All the other parts you'll need to develop by yourself. And for that, you'll need to have, for example, if you have to go for a folder framework, you'll have to have, for example, to do it by yourself, all the part with the routing, or you can go and use, for example, for an advanced framework called, for example, single SPA. And now you can go, please, to the next one. Now, the thing with the single SPA is that permits you now to have some logic to bootstrap and to put up all your micro frontends. So, for example, single SPA is a framework which helps you to route all your micro frontends, to load them each time we need it, and to make that everything async. So, for example, if you have 3 apps, all 3 of them will be as a micro frontend independently deployed, and you'll have a host app which does all the put up of all the micro frontends. And in this way, you don't have to create, for example, anything like a shim function for them to load it. This one, it's platform agnostic. You don't have to be careful when you use, for example, they have something called like parcels. You don't have to create a shim function. This permits you to be agnostic. Now, the thing with single SPA is that the host app does all the routing for you when we switch it from one part, from one micro frontend to another micro frontend. But inside it, each one has its inner routing. So, for example, if you have one of the app, which is, let's say, one micro frontend, inside it, each micro frontend needs to be bootstrapped, mounted, unmounted, and unloaded. So each one has to, let's say, implement some functions exposed by the single SPA. The difference with single SPA and Webpack is that single SPA permits you to be, let's say, almost agnostic, because module federation used to have some problems with create React apps, and you still need to have a Webpack 5 versioning. So using single SPA, you might not have that problems. Okay, can you go to the next one? Okay, how is now single SPA organized? When you have a Webpack module federation, parts of the code, for example, product list or something like a component, if you want to expose it to the other one, here in single SPA, it's called parcel. It's just a chunk of functionality which can be taken from one part and used in another micro frontend. And in single SPA, it's called parcel. You don't have to do nothing. You just have to expose it as a parcel when you create that component, and you do not have any routing to it. You just use it as a simple chunk. Okay, another thing which single SPA has, you can share modules. You can share utilities like helpers, like authentication here, like API helpers, lifecycle. Also, Webpack has this. So you can share also utils by Webpack. Not only this, so module federation also has this one. But it also has some restrictions, single SPA, and some in order not to somehow generate chaos for yourself. Okay, so can you go to the next one? Now, when you share between the micro frontends, one of the guidelines is to know exactly what you want to start to share. In module federation and in single SPA, both of them have pieces which are shared. You should not share, for example, so it's not a good guideline to share the thinnest piece. Here you can see you have an atom design structures with the link below. And it says, for example, you just have a button. Don't share that button. For that, you can just have a library as you have material or all the other runtime. So that just create a library, expose it, and use that. You do not have to create all micro frontend for that button. Also the same, you have, for example, a button with some label, something, it's too small. For the same, you don't have to do it. But for example, if you have an organism, like a product list for ourselves, that fits as a parcel in single SPA and the component is module federation. That can be shared. But also, if you go to the bigger pages, for example, templates or pages, that goes mostly with single SPA recommendation. Single SPA recommendation says that if you go with full page, make the pages and the structure to be as independent as possible. And this is some guidelines which you will see in the next slides. So if you want to share something, go first with full pages. If not, single SPA permits you to have parcels, which are some chunk of code, like here organism, and module federation also goes for organism, things like that. Medium one, not too big, not too small. Okay, and if you go now to the next slide to see some pros and benefits. So pros and benefits are that you can decouple teams. For example, one team can work for the product part, another team can work for the display part of the products, and one for the checkout. They are fully independent, they can be fully independent, and each one can put up its code faster on the market and don't have to complicate with all the other parts which are not on his side. So I can go faster to the market, I can fix faster my problems, and I don't have to see exactly what's happening on the checkout part. That can be totally independent from another team. So it can be another micro frontend checkout, and my part, which is just displaying the product list, can be on my part or on another team part. So here we can see that we can have a vertical now of development, not a horizontal one. So we are somehow independent and we can go fast on the market. Okay, the code can be cleaner because I am responsible for the part with the products. I know exactly what I'm displaying. I know exactly which are my needs, and I don't have to be bothered with the other part, which are mostly on the payment and on the checkout. My part with the UI presentation, I can be really efficient with displaying exactly only the parts which are needed. I don't have to bootstrap and load all the other checkout pages until they are there. So everything gets loaded async. So I don't have to complicate the display of things which are seen by the client. So it's faster to be displayed for the client, and it's a direction which is going. Okay, can you go to the next one? Thank you. Okay, now there are some things to consider when you go with the micro frontends. One of the things is that what you share between the micro frontends, there are some guidelines. Also, the DevOps, it's a little bit complicated at the beginning. Someone needs to take the ownership of everything because each micro frontend will have its independent deployment. Also, the host, if you're using the single SPA, it's an initial learning curve at the beginning until you get working between teams. Even though we have micro frontends in each team and everybody somehow it's independent, there still needs to be some communication as thin as possible there, but there still needs to be. So teams still need to communicate and know exactly what they share between them. Okay, the thing with having, for example, a style guide. you have multiple micro frontends, for example. One is in Angular, one is in React, one is in Vue.js. In order to be on the same side, we'll need to have a UX style guide, for example, like Material or Mantine, in order for us to have the same approach on how we display things. Also, thing which you need to think is testing. Testing can be in each micro frontend, and also above it, like an end-to-end testing, for example, a Cypress tool for it to catch how it's displayed. Okay, it has some initial investment because you really need to organize well when you go with both DevOps and how exactly you share things, how you communicate between the micro frontends, and how you do all your communication between the teams, because now they have the vertical organization, not only the horizontal. Can you go to the next one? Okay, now there are some images which I took it from the internet to see how things are mixing. Now, as you see, there are some guidelines to adopt here on the screen. It's really important to know each team what's doing. So the product guides will be with the product display, the checkout with the checkout, others on the first pages with the UI will be on their side. Now it's really important to know what's happening with the state and how we share things between. Most of the guidelines go, do not share too much state between them. Cut as much as possible to have them independent. If you need to share something between the micro frontends, do it with an event emitter thing, with Windows storage something, or with RxJS, which is used. Don't use, for example, a thing which is closed only to one technology, for example, only to React or only to Angular. Why? Because you want to be as agnostic as possible. And when you share state between them, it can be overloaded. And when you share a state between one team and another team, when you put a micro frontend by switching between routes, that state will disappear, and you need to reload it, and you need to make a lot of communication between the guys who put it what and what. The best solution, as I've learned, is the one with using an event emitter based like RxJS, in order to not to complicate too much and keep as independent as possible. Okay, here you can see in the image in the left is display not to share the same state, and it's what I've displayed. Now on the image from the right, you can see if you have 3 micro frontends, there's still some communication between the teams. It's a vertical, but you need to keep in mind that teams need to discuss what they share, what they emit from one part to another, but as much as possible to be independent. So communication should not be a bottleneck. It should be addressed, but it should not be shared. You should not share too many things. Be as independent as possible. If you go to the next one. Okay, as I said at the beginning, the DevOps, it's a crucial thing, and all the way you organize communication and the micro frontend is important. You have for each one pipelines tool reports to be handled, and that's really important. In both of the module federation and single SPA, you have the possibility with keep in mind that you do not share, for example, React and not load it multiple times. So share dependency, it's important to know how it's done. To be as a singleton, for example, it's known in the module federation, and also the single SPA will keep that, so you don't have to reload the same packages too many times. At the beginning, the performance budget will be a little bit increased because you'll have to speed up the project, but in time, with the independence of each micro frontend, the cost will decrease. Okay, can you go to the next one? Okay, I believe it was just an intro of the 2 products which are pretty used, module federation and the single SPA. That's it.
Okay, guys. I want to show you a small demo that I prepared for today. And let me get to the code here and get my apps running. First of all, I want to show you in the browser the use case and then talk about code. If the demo god will help me. Okay, so this is your typical e-commerce solution. We have here like a product list. If we want to add them to cart, we can see them in the cart view. But imagine if you spend a lot of time on this, maybe you want to extract those two features and give them to two independent teams. So each team can take care of a portion of the application. So imagine that you have a second team, cart team, that will focus only the cart feature of it. But to be able to test their own end-to-end flow, they need also the products list, so they can test the interaction and the state management and so on. So they also want to do this in their application. So we'll show you how we can do this using module federation. So let's go to the code now. So I created, just for example, this is a mono repo using turbo repo. This is the typical structure of it. You have a folder with application and you have a folder with packages. These are the typical NPM packages that can be published. I mean, packages that can be published to NPM and can be shared outside of this repo as well. Whatever we use here are available in this application as well. So this is not anything new. So both of these cart and products application use already the products content, so they can show you on the screen this. But imagine if a product team decides to extend the functionality and they have it on their own application. So let's do this. So if we moved into the in the products thing, in the products content, maybe we want to extend the thing that we using from the shared package. So I added random changes here. So I have super new changes. Bam! This is in the products, but the cart won't have it because it's using the we set the package in the packages. So what we'll need to like bump version of that to include it in if they are different application, it will need to bump version in npm package and redeploy it. If they are in the same monorepo, if we change directly in the package, it will get. But now we want to have access from this products application to the next one. So how we do this? We need to expose this to the other application using module federation. How do we do this? Both of these applications are created with create React app. So that means we do not have direct access to webpack config, because there we need to add our changes. To avoid ejecting from React app, I use let's say, a workaround using Krakow. What's Krakow? We need to install Krakow and replace React scripts with Krakow here in all the npm packages. And this will offer us the possibility to add like Krakow CJS file in both of the applications to be able to interact with the webpack config. So I added two different setups here in products and here in cart. Let's add them side by side, and I will zoom a bit to see the code better maybe. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we add the module federation to a React application? So in the webpack, we need to add a plugin. The plugin name is module federation plugin. It's sort of a syntactic sugar over 3 or 4 other plugins, but we'll keep to this. And it has a couple of properties here. The name is the product's name. We're in the products application. The file name, the default one, is remote entry.js. This will be the name of JavaScript bundle that will get generated with everything that this will expose. And I said expose. This is another object here that you can decide whatever you want to expose to the out world from your application. So we decided that we need to be able to import the products content from products to the other cart application. So I expose here the /products pointed to where my component is. So under src products content. And we have a different property object here. It's called shared. What does it mean? So here it's related to everything, all of the dependencies that the project needs. So imagine everything that we have here in package.json, maybe the other application where you want to get your content from, maybe it also has the same, or a couple of them are matching. I know for sure that in React world, you are not able to use two different React instances on the same page. So how to avoid that? In shared, you can explicitly import every dependency from package.json, and on everything you can fine tune it. For example, you can set up the singleton. So if the other application also uses the UI shared package from here, it will be only a single instance. So to avoid increasing bundle sizes, and React and React DOM as well. Okay. So here we set up the exposing part. So we made it available to the outer world. In the other place, in the other application, in the cart one, we do the same plugin, same name with cart that we, the name of the application, the same file name, and we have here instead the remotes instead of exposes. So from remotes, technically, where do we want to get this from? So here we have products. It's the same name that we declared here at localhost 3000, because this will be currently is running on the other 3000 port, and remote entry.js, the name of the file here. Okay. So we have this set up. Let's use it in cart where it needs. So if we go into this app, I believe so. Previously, we used the products content from products content package. So from these packages here, but we want to use it from the module federated one. So we can see that we can import it from products / products. So how we declared it here. So not here, but here. So products / products, and we can even use the latest features from React. So we can see here that we can lazy load it. So I called it products content runtime. So if we go here and modify it, and move back to the browser. Let's see if we will see the. Forgot something to add here. Let's see here. Let's make it work eventually. Okay, so now we have here we are in the cart application when we see all of the latest changes here. And if we take a look in the network tab under the JS, we can see the remote entry JS file that get imported from localhost 3000. So notice that we're here on 3001, but we take it from the other place. This is just a JavaScript file, so it can be easily set up in your content delivery network. So just as your usual assets, this is just another JavaScript bundle. All right, let's move a step forward and think about the bad cases. So imagine it is very unlikely that your CDN will break, but imagine, let's say, a S3 from Amazon drops for 1 hour. And let's consider this and close the products process here in the. So I closed the entire products application, process. And if we refresh the cart, damn, full page, white page. So we have crashed the application. So because you cannot add that from the other place. So usually in the React world, if I can find my VS Code, 1 second. All right, usually in React world, the best, a good practice is to wrap everything in error boundaries. So I created the error boundary class here upper in the file that extends React component, blah, blah, blah. And it has if an error return, oops, let's see if this will work. So I refresh again the page, and yeah, our application is working sort of, but this part that is crashed is sort of managed by the error boundary. So we can use the other applications, other features of it. So the error is kind of scoped, but we can do better than this. So if you remember from our presentation, we told you 2 different ways of doing it: build time and on runtime. Build time meaning to use like in the beginning with the package from the npm package, and build time and runtime using module federation. But we extend this and replace that oops with the previous thing that we took from the packages. And I refresh the browser. So now we don't have the latest version that we have, but let's say we did a fallback to the previous version that we had. So instead of offering your user a bad experience, you can rely on this for, I don't know, 1 hour or how much time the product's application will be broken, and offer them a still usable experience here. So you can use it. So this doesn't mean you must use them in parallel. Like I said, it's very unlikely that a popular CDN will break, but just to be sure, you have extra layer of, let's say, security, not security, but confidence in your application. So you can always bump the version of it whenever it needs, but not in every deployment. You can rely on module federated approach to have the latest changes, but once in a while, you can always like bump the version in npm packages to have like a fallback as close as possible to the real to the current state of the application. Okay, this is all what I wanted to show you. I will go back to the presentation, and thank you very much for listening in. I will pass the mic to my colleague Christian to continue.
Thank you, Sergiu. Thank you, Tudor. And last but not least, thank you all for attending this session of Tech Insiders. I hope we all got lots of interesting information about technology and micro frontends, and see you next time.